a lot of hate against foreigner drivers.
Why is
Because you want me to use questions? They're just a truck driver, a dumb truck driver.
Hey, but you gotta remember, I'm in the industry. You're not.
Welcome to the Truck Stop Show. Today we're joined by Dakota, who is a mobile mechanic, and we'll talk to him. I'm very excited for the show, by the way, because I know what Dakota does, but I want him to tell us what he does. So Dakota, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me. I've been a mobile mechanic. Actually, let's back up. I've been a mechanic since I was about 18, so coming on about 15 years now. Done mobile for the last 7 or 8 years. And then the last year of that was fully operational under my own business.
So you never worked at a fast food restaurant, you were saying?
Nope, I skipped that completely. Essentially, when I was 16, I went and worked in an auto shop from 16 to 18, and then went from that to basically a truck shop.
So what's the difference between an auto shop and a truck shop?
Everything's a little bigger. That's pretty much it. No, the auto industry is a lot more fast-paced and smaller budgets, would be the way to put it. When you get into a trucks, like there's trucks everywhere all the time. You're always busy. Auto shops is kind of hit and miss, depends where you are. Like in the province, there's all kinds of variables in it. Where trucks, actually the guy that I worked for originally in the auto shop basically told me if you want stable and decent money, move into trucks.
Right. And Dakota, explain us rather, what is a mobile mechanic?
Essentially a dude in a truck, any sort of truck, could be a van, basically show up and fix stuff on site. And there's going to be many different levels of it. Like you could have a guy that just comes out and does oil changes. You could have a guy that comes out and just does specifically engine work, goes into other people's shops, rebuilds engines. Like Wajax is one that does stuff like that. And then you got tire guys, which are their own branch of it as well. There's a lot of different. You get very niche in mobile sometimes. You get really good at one thing and then you'll kind of get shoved into that. Or depending what your customers are running. Like you might have one customer that runs all flat decks, so you get really good at doing flat deck stuff.
And what exactly do you do?
We basically got into doing a lot of lift gates because we deal with a lot of food companies. So a lot of companies that deliver a whole bunch of food to restaurants, fast food, stuff like that. So we get into a lot of parking lots when it's stuck on the ground. Won't go back up.
Mm-hmm. So do you do mechanical stuff too?
Yeah, we'll do mostly rolling repairs. Like we don't do anything, no brake jobs, nothing like that, because we've gotten so narrowed into doing a lot of the lift gate stuff. If you need something done emergency, like you need brakes done right there to get you to a shop, we'll do them, no problems. But at most of the time, it's all pretty much lift gate stuff at this point. Gotten really good at.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So that's like your specialty now?
Yeah, pretty much. So a lot of hydraulics, a lot of electrical, and mostly you can carry a lot of the parts in a van, right? Instead of carrying 1,000 different things for 1,000 different makes, you can narrow it down to 5 makes and models.
And how does your truck look like? Is it like a mini shop on wheels?
Pretty much.
So what kind of stuff you carry in that shop?
Welder, generator, compressor, toolbox, bench vise, enough parts to get you out of pretty much any problem at 3 a.m, because that's when you need anything, is when nothing is open.
It must be very tough to be on call. Are you on call the whole time?
Pretty much. We've pushed a lot of the night calls away. We don't get too many of them anymore because everybody wants to go home and sleep by 11 p.m. We still will do it for certain customers, like if somebody does need something, but a lot of the customers that were calling us at night, they call us during the day. So it was a very, they want some obscure thing done that nobody else is picking up the phone for.
So it must be very hard on the family too, right? So like, I mean, you go home after a long day and you're trying to, like do your own thing, maybe sleep, maybe eat, maybe cook something.
Most of it's sleep and then get back up and get back in the truck. You can, in the mobile world, the more you want to work, the more you pick up the phone, the busier you are. And unfortunately, people will abuse that because if you don't put the rules in, they're just going to keep calling you.
And did you choose to be in this business, or So you said you did work in shops before, right?
Yeah, I worked in the shop for 7 or 8 years.
Right. So what's the comparison here? So you choose to do this, or you just landed in here?
Bit of both, I would say.
Okay, explain me the journey there.
Opportunity arose through one of my buddy's dads. So basically started a company, and then I basically an independent contractor under his business. And it was essentially, he was looking for help. So basically called me like, hey, you buy a truck, I'll fill it with parts and you can run around. And at that point, the shop was getting stale and financial. There was promises of big greenbacks. That was mainly what pushed me into it. And you're constantly going places, doing stuff. Like in the shop, by that point, I was like, do I want to do another brake job today and then come back in tomorrow and then I'll do another brake job? And then do you want to come back tomorrow and then maybe do another brake job? It just gets monotonous.
No, but in the shop, you go home, let's say 8 o'clock, and now you're home.
That's true. But the same problem is when they tell you to go home and say you do want to make more money that day, there's no opportunity for that. We don't want to pay you overtime. Get out of here.
Right.
So if you're looking at a financial standpoint, you can, like I said, you pick up the phone, there's going to be somebody calling you. So you can run as much as you'd like. You'll burn yourself out, which I did in the first couple of years immediately, like everyone does when they get in the mobile business. Not a great choice.
It's not a great choice?
It's not a great choice. At the very beginning, you should make as much money as possible because you've got a limited, like the first 5 years are prime money making time because, like you say, I was working roughly, even the last little bit is 6 days a week, 16 hours. And that's pretty typical. The first 5 years, I was probably getting 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night, running like 20, 23 hours at times. Like the longest shift I pulled was essentially like 40 hours.
So you're a truck driver with no logbooks.
And that's kind of the beauty of it. So we don't got to do, because we technically aren't driving for our job. We're driving to our job. It's a pretty loose gray line. And anybody pulls you over at the 40th hour, they're going to probably have some questions because you're like barely keeping your eyes. You got coffee cups everywhere in the passenger seat. It's not. So in the first 5 years, you should make a bunch of money and then peel back. So that way you don't burn yourself out. Because I know guys that have been in it for 30, 40 years and they're all crippled.
So you're saying it's not good on health?
No, you're out in the elements, heat, cold, rain. It's hard on a guy.
Is there anything good about this job other than money?
Nope. No, there's tons that are good about it. Like if you like problem solving, like a lot of it is you have to build your own reward system. You're working by yourself 90% of the time. Nobody's going to come out and be like, thanks. Well, some of the really good customers will always be appreciating. But most of the time, you got to make your own value system. Like, I did a really good job today because I figured out this super hard problem with no help. Nobody's going to come and pat you on the back because you did it, because you're in a parking lot at 2 a.m, figuring out something with a headlight, screaming at yourself because you can't figure it out and you want to go home.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you want hard challenges, it's very good. Very rewarding that way because it's constant problem solving.
Is that what
that's what I look
pleases
for.
you?
Yeah, that's what I look for in a lot of stuff. Is if it's not challenging me, it's boring. Right? Like that's where the shop ended up getting, because you do the same thing for 2 months in a row. You're like, we got to do something else here. Give me something harder to try and learn or just challenge yourself.
So Dakota, to my understanding, it's a very dangerous job in a way that you're in these yards all by yourself doing these mechanical things with tools and whatnot, and
Pretty much.
sometimes welding and using extreme equipment, let's put it this way.
Yeah.
How do you manage that fear? I mean, do you ever feel fearful? I mean, like, let's say you go into a random yard,
Yeah.
and this yard looks sketchy. Secondly, this yard has no one in there. It's middle of the night, and the job you are doing is not so pleasant. Like, tell me something about stuff, the fears or
So
the dangers.
The dangers are 100% real. Essentially, like you got to manage it. Like you don't go doing sketchy things at 3 a.m. You attempt to use the sketchy meter where you start with something and you're like, okay, that didn't work. And then like I've had jobs where you do something and you're like, I'm going to wait till the morning because we're cresting a point where if I get crushed or if I get hit or God forsaken, I drop dead of a heart attack out here, I'm going to be hanging out for a while. Like, so me and my business partner actually looked into essentially GPS trackers. So that way he and I at least know, okay, so he was supposed to be out of there in half an hour. He's still back there 4 hours later. You can at least go find him. Because if he's having a problem, you can't pick up your phone sometimes. Say you blow your hand off or whatever. It's a calculated risk a lot of the times, especially like I've been in some places downtown Toronto that you're not sure who's coming through the alleyway with you. And you're like, why are you standing over there, dude? Why are you near my truck? Are you going to take my stuff or are you going to try and take my wallet? Like, what are we doing here, friend? You never know.
So you carry a GPS with you?
We basically were looking into a pack right now. If we're out at night, you basically pin yourself with your phone. Just ping the other person, hey, go in here. Even if they're sleeping, at least hey, here's my general vicinity. Here's why I'm going there. Generally, they know, okay, so it should be an hour job. If it goes real south, it's going to be 2 hours. You're still there 4 hours later, and they wake up in the morning and they're like, why haven't they moved? Why isn't there another text or whatever? We had to go back that way because there's been times where, say you do hurt yourself and you're the only person there. Nobody's there. You got to call someone and you're like, hey, I might be in a bad situation. Luckily, none of us have ever lost a finger or nothing crazy like that. But there's always a calculated risk being by yourself, being on the side of the highway on a creeper, which is number one thing that you don't do on the highway. Always go under a truck without a creeper because it passing you can suck you out from underneath. You're on wheels. You're on a skateboard.
Right.
The air pressure from a big truck can pull you out.
Do you work on the side of the highway a lot too?
Not so much anymore. At the first 5 years, we did quite a bit of roadside stuff. And then, like I said, we got into doing a lot of liftgate stuff, which is all deliveries. So usually it's in somebody's parking lot, which is also, the parking lots are more dangerous because apparently the rules of the road do not, nope, I'm in a parking lot. I don't need a signal. I don't need to do anything in here.
It's private property, right?
I've almost been hit in so many McDonald's parking lots. It's not even funny because I am blocking the drive-through, not block the drive. Every time.
I know exactly what you mean. So you have worked on the side of the highway. So
Yep.
what are the rules and regulations on that?
Lots of lights and basically park your truck far enough back that if they smuck your truck, it doesn't smuck the thing you're on. Right? Like you have to be your own traffic control. Lots of pylons if you want. The problem is some drivers, when they see a big flashy thing on the side of the road, it's like, what's the old thing where if you're in a parking lot and you look at the light pole in the middle of the parking lot long enough, you're going to hit it. A lot of people are like that. They're more focused on what you're doing and constantly doing getting closer to you. Then a lot of times you have to manage the driver as well. Like, because some drivers, they want to be
Looking at you.
what are you doing under there? And he's got his backside basically in a lane of traffic. You're like, hey man, in the truck or on this side. And even on that side, we get hit. You're getting squished.
Yeah. It's dangerous. Like it's
just try not to think about it.
No, I mean, this is, this is not an easy job. There's a lot of crazy jobs out there. I think this is one of them.
It's a lot of moving parts. Like tow truck drivers are in the similar, and
Right.
they get hit all the time.
No, but they don't sit at one spot for many hours, right? You probably have to, right?
Sometimes it depends on the road call. Like if you get to something and it is that if you can't get the guy going, you can basically just call a tow truck and get him dragged at least up off the highway. Like I think the longest I've been on the highway is probably an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And even that, if it was a spot where I couldn't get over enough, you just call the guy. It's easier to pay that bill to have them drag the truck up the on-ramp. I've had drivers just pull it up there for me. They're like, the tires don't move. I was like, the truck will pull it. Just pull it up the on-ramp because we're both going to get hit where it is.
Dakota, so basically your job is to deal with the truck drivers, right?
Yeah.
So now truck drivers are very special human beings to my understanding, right? So
They are.
when especially they need a lot of psychological help when they break down.
Yes.
So you face this on daily basis basically, right? And you have been doing this for a long time. So let's say you go to rescue somebody,
Yeah.
right? Somebody's broken down. This person is taking a load far distance, let's suppose, and now because he broke down, all of his trip planning is gone down the drain. And at the same time, he's worried about too many things. For example, the big one would be the cost and time and whatnot, and unhappy company at the same time. Uh, and then, they're constantly poking you, right?
Yeah.
How do you handle a situation like this?
They're people. So you break down anywhere and think about how that feels, right? So you're never ever going somewhere that you could wait an hour. So now they're already on a massive time schedule. A lot of times, like some people, they're going to be real frustrated with you. Like you're going to be the point of human contact that is directly after as angry as they've been. And then most of the time, if you just explain to the guy that I'm here to help, like I've had guys yell at me. I've had all kinds of name calling. But a lot of
Name
time
calling?
Oh yeah. Oh dude. Yeah.
Can you give me one?
I'm not sure if we can say it.
All right.
A lot of it is you basically become it because they've called their dispatcher. Their dispatcher's freaking out. They're freaking out. They're up at number 11. You show up and you're like, hey, what's the problem? And they're like, you're supposed to figure that out. And you're like, I just showed up here, man. You didn't tell me any information. You're mad because I'm late. You called me 20 minutes ago. Like a lot of it, you basically just have to talk them down off the ledge for a couple of times because a lot of times they're just going to be artificially mad. It's inconvenient. You're showing up. You're just the first point of contact. So you basically just got to be like, I'm here to help you. I'm going to try and get it done as fast as I can. I didn't break it. You didn't break it unless you did, right? We're kind of in this mutually together now. I'll try and get you out of here as fast as you can.
Have you ever walked away from a job?
I have left and come back to prove a point.
Okay. So the person was unhappy and rude, let's suppose?
Irate is the word I would use.
Okay, that's the word. All right. So you walked away, and then later you realized that I should go back and talk to this person again?
Yeah, I got my truck and left.
Okay. Well, you know what? I want the full story now. And the location, please.
Basically in a parking lot, same thing for, I can't remember what the restaurant was. Anyways, go in there. It's 3 a.m, 2, 3 a.m. It's middle of the night. Show up, and basically the guy comes unglued on me because I'm not a train, so I tell him I'm going to be there in 60 to 90 minutes. I think I was coming from Guelph going to like Scarborough. It's not a short drive.
Correct.
In the middle of the night, I'm like, I could be 60 to 90 minutes. Sure enough, I show up at like 75 minutes, and he's like, you're late. I'm like, I'm not sure that I am. He's like, you said you were going to be here in an hour. I said, well, 60 to 90, 75 is between those two. And essentially he's like, see, this is why we can't trust you. This is why. And he just goes off this tirade about how you can't trust mechanics. They're always trying to rip you off. And it's 3 a.m. in the parking lot. I'm like, that's cool. If you want to stay here, that's fine. And he's like, well, you have to fix this. And I was like, I actually don't. I'd prefer if we tried this again. So my first tactic was walk away. I come back to him like, hi, I'm Dakota. I'm here to fix it. And the guy then basically comes full unglued, yelling at me because he now thinks I'm just being a dink.
Yeah.
So I just get in my truck, left. I came back 30 minutes later after his dispatch is calling me. His boss that he woke up is now calling me at 3 a.m. I'm like, listen.
So now are they like sort of begging you in a way?
Well, his boss is trying to figure out because his boss is now calling me. Well, he says that you just up and left. And I was like, did he tell you that he was also basically screaming at me? And I don't particularly need a guy screaming at me at 3 a.m. I just woke up an hour ago.
Yeah.
Right. It's unnecessary. And then come back, and sure enough, he's in his truck, windows up, won't talk to me. And so I think his boss pretty much gave him a
chill pill.
Yeah, you could say that, or a whipping. And because you're a representative of a company, you can't show up. And sometimes you want to say probably what the guy needs to hear, but at the same time, you're a professional. You can't show up and just start basically cutting into a guy because he's being an asshole to you. You've got to have some sort of restraint because you're a representative of my company, like especially now being like having our own company. You can't just walk up to a guy and start screaming at him. Much as you want to, can't do it.
But you're a human being too. Can be hard on you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You have emotions too. You like to respond.
Nah, I'm only a mechanic. I don't have emotions.
No, come
Yeah.
on.
A
Human.
lot of times you just got to remember that they're human and they're having a bad day. It's the same as you having a bad day.
No, but you can't just yell. Like for example,
No.
you're here to help me out,
Yeah.
and I start yelling. You're 10 minutes late.
And a lot of times too is before you even get there, they've called you 3 or 4 times. Hey, you coming? Like, can you get here any faster? And I'm like, no, unless you send a helicopter to me, I physically can't. The speed limit is the speed limit.
And just to be clear, your service area is basically
Massive.
GTA, right?
Yeah, we do. I'm going to say 80% of our work is in Brampton, Mississauga.
Woo!
Yeah, right in the thick of it. And then we'll go. I've went to Barrie, London. I've drove to Windsor before. It's a big bill. Big bill. It's really easy though. It's just driving. But we'll go. Most of it is Guelph, Kitchener, Barrie, anything that's within 90 minutes.
Let's talk about Brampton for a second.
What about that special? It's got a special place in my heart,
No,
man.
but here's the thing. Why on the social media truck drivers from Brampton have such a bad name?
The way they behave.
Okay, so you're saying this notion is not wrong?
No, there's many facets to this too. Like the way they act, the way they drive is a whole. I don't know where they got their license. Basically, it is the things that you would choose to do in a car is questionable at times, and then they do that in a 53-foot trailer pulling bricks, and you're like, I'm not sure you understand the consequences that happen if that thing crashes. And I don't know if enough of them haven't crashed, but some of the stuff I've seen, I'm like, dude, why are you cutting that guy off? Like, he's going to smush you, and you're also in a transport. Like, what are you doing? There's all kinds of, let's call it no rules. It's lawless. Most of the time, it's lawless.
Is there any good drivers in Brampton?
No, they all revert to some sort of caveman. Like, it doesn't matter where you're from or who it is. As soon as you get there, and I'm going to put myself into this boat as well. I drive down from where I live now, which is a small, tiny little town. It's quaint. You crest the top of that 410 and my blood pressure peaks, like just peaks, because there's so many people doing so much stuff. And I don't know if it's human nature that it's just sensory overload. And then essentially it turns into like, I need to get in front of you. I need to be over there. I'm 2 lanes where I shouldn't be. It just devolves into basically chaos immediately.
So all right, let me rephrase this question now. Okay, so is it just the truck drivers or is the
No.
4-wheelers too?
Oh, it's in 4-wheelers. And the cars they're bad because I can make it anywhere. I'm small. And a lot of them, I don't think understand. Even my service truck, it's a Dodge 5500. It's not the biggest thing. It's not the smallest thing. But for some reason, everybody's got that, well, you're bigger, you must have bigger brakes. Like, you should be able to slow down. It's the exact opposite because momentum's the law. Like, so many people are doing so many questionable maneuvers that you're like, have you never crashed a car before? Because it hurts. Like, it generally hurts most of the time. You shouldn't be doing stuff like that. The truck drivers, like dump truck drivers, they're driving them like they're driving a minivan, and it's terrifying. Like doing crazy maneuvers, and you're like, dude, you're hauling gravel, man. What are you doing? And then the same thing you see with cars where you're like, that car shouldn't be on the road. There's guys driving around with stuff that you're like, it physically looks like your wheels are going to fall off. Or you look up, you come up beside the guy, and he's doing this with the steering wheel, and I'm like,
For no obvious reason?
well, the truck is going straight, but it's just, there's that much play in the steering wheel. And you're like, oh, holy, maybe we should get that looked at. So with the drive on program, how they've brought everything up. So you got to take pictures of the truck. I think it's done good in the last year. A lot of the questionable vehicles on the road have been cleaned up a lot because it's a lot harder to get your friend fill out a safety and stick it on.
There is some step forward.
There is some step forward. And I think it's there. So, and this is from my point of view, there is a lot of stuff that I wouldn't say questionably passed before, but say you've got a small pinhole like that on one tiny little piece. Like, is that going to make it unsafe? No. your mechanic could say, hey, look, you've got to get that fixed. I'll pass you for now. Get it fixed, come back to me. Or let me fix it, but I'll pass you so you can do your run to Detroit. Because the transportation industry there's been a massive backlog with all the safeties. And a lot of it is because the transportation industry, like everything was supposed to be done yesterday.
Correct.
And you should be in the truck and you should be driving. And you're like, you didn't tell me where I'm supposed to go, but we need it there yesterday. Everything is that kind of urgency in the transportation industry. So you down a truck for weeks. And that's why everyone was basically doing hot safeties and stuff. Cause they're like, if I can't feed my family because they'll stop calling me, like especially owner operators, they don't have work. You just stay home.
So let's go back to Brampton for a second. So is it just to Brampton or Toronto as well?
Toronto in general.
Does it have anything to do with the race?
I think some of the ones coming over, it's a cultural thing, I think, because driving here is not like driving back home, and it could be from multiple places, right? It's not fair to single anybody out at all.
Correct.
There were used to, like, people that are from Canada originally, that got their driver's license here, were used to driving here with certain rules, certain courtesies. Hey, you want to come in, maybe I'll slow down. You can put your blinker on. Crazy idea. And you're more than welcome to come into the lane because you've signaled, I'll back up a little bit. It's easy. Instead of just dive bombing 3 lanes. And you're like, that's not how it works here, man. I'm used to a controlled environment.
So it's just to Brampton or other cities as well?
Brampton's definitely the hot spot, but like the entire 401 corridor. Some of the outskirts,
So
like
now we're talking Milton, we're talking Scarborough, we're talking.
I'd put her all the way down to far side of Hamilton.
So okay, so starting.
Call it at the Skyway Bridge.
Okay, all right, sure.
Right to Oshawa. And I think that's just because there's so many people. Like a lot of those cities used to have breaks between them. And now they're all just one homogenous giant city. Like me not being from the city, everywhere's Toronto to me.
Right.
Like I don't know where Brampton.
I look at it the same.
I don't know where Brampton, Mississauga end. They're just, you cross the city and they're like, oh no, we're from Streetsville. And I'm like, I'm still in Brampton, I thought. And they're like, this is Mississauga. And I'm like, I don't know where it ended.
Yeah.
Like
It's the funny one is Etobicoke. When people say I'm from Etobicoke, I was like, just tell me Toronto.
right? You're either I always just think you're either from Rexdale or you're from below the 420, like below the 427. I don't know which end of Etobicoke you're on.
So you get calls from all these areas. Which call you like the most? From which area?
From which area? The one that's not in Brampton. Orangeville, all those nice little hamlets around.
For the drive purpose or for the people purpose?
People purpose. Everyone.
So you're saying it's difficult to deal people in the GTA area. Let's not Brampton anymore.
Yeah.
The GTA area.
Be inclusive here.
Sure. Yes.
2025.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's difficult to deal with these people. Tell me which way.
Anyone that is in I grew up in small towns, very small towns out in the country. It's a slower pace of life. So you go somewhere, people are much more accommodating, much more friendly, much more understanding. You go to the city and everyone is doing their own thing. They don't care what you're doing. I need my stuff done now. They're far more on my terms instead of like, okay, so you're coming to help me, and they're still like the guy yelling at you at 3 a.m. You're supposed to be here to do this job for me now. Instead of like, I'll get a call from some of my customers. A couple of them are farmers, and they're like, you got time today, tomorrow, next week. I could probably limp it. Like, I know you're busy. They're way more accommodating. And I think when you put that many people into an area like the GTA, it essentially breeds the rat race, I think. I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes total sense. I just this comparison is actually making me feel, like what's going on here. You know what I mean? Like if you live in a slow pace area,
yeah.
So you're saying you're a better human being than living in a bigger city. You know?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, like I said, with the driving, I think it's not by any nature of the course. I just think it's what happens when you put too many people on top of each other. Like, and then you get the same thing where the transportation, it's the same reason why I work down there. The transportation follows the 401. So you want to be busy, You truck yourself to where all the trucks are. Like that whole corridor is where all the money is. So that's where you go, right? You deal with all the consequences of it, of everybody having super thin margins, constantly in a rush. The dispatcher tells you should be there in 20 minutes, and you're like, I'm driving a 53-foot trailer. I physically can't go down some of the roads you're telling me to go down. There's a lot of different factors that come into it. Everyone's hyped up because everyone's got to make their money, and they can't be late.
Right. So Dakota, you basically told me that ever since you were 16, no, let's say 18, you have done nothing but trucks, right?
Nothing but trucks, yeah.
Correct. So now, a person who's in a way given majority of his life to trucks, is trucking a good trade?
It can be. Depends which side you want to go into, right? Like, you talking on mechanical side?
No.
Driving side? If you enjoy driving, for sure. If you don't like high pressure driving in, and it's the same thing as before, like you can get into certain niches. Like you could drive a fuel tank, you could drive tanker trucks, you could get into specialty hauling, basically those big wind turbines, like oversized stuff. If you like a challenge and you want to see the country, like if you don't mind being away from your family, I would put it in the same way that I was said about being a mobile mechanic. The first 5 years, go crazy, make your money, and then pare it back if you don't like it, or go into day trips. There's a lot of different avenues of it. So there's probably something for everybody. You don't like driving, or driving stresses you out, not the answer, because it gets even more stressful when you put a giant trailer behind you and a whole bunch of people just cutting you off. Like even me driving my truck, I'm like, I don't know how some of these guys are driving transports, pulling 120,000 pounds of bricks and just white knuckling it.
Why do you think people do this?
Because I think back in the day, it was a extremely respectable trade. Like
It was. You're saying it's not anymore.
I think it's become far less idolized, right? Like how many times you hear, and this might also be from me being in the trade for a while, how many times did you hear from an older driver that they were like, oh, me and Billy Big Rig, we went down to Texas. We had the time of our life, essentially. We drove straight from Tennessee. They're telling you this grand story about how they went here and they seen this, and then they slept over here and they were making oodles of money. Like it was, and that also might be the golden era, like the same thing as everything, where everything back in the day was better. But
I think it's a myth.
I think it's a myth. It is. It is. It's a perspective thing. But I think back in the day, everyone that seen a truck driver was like, well, you brought me my stuff, right? Like my stuff didn't get to my little town without the help of a truck driver. And now we've kind of lost that, where everything comes on trucks. Everything's delivered to your door from Amazon and a guy in a van. It's kind of lost the spunk of it. I don't know if that's the right word. Like the mysticism. Oh, this guy's seen the country, right? Like a lot of the old guys, you'd come back and you'd ask them, like, how was your trip? Like, what'd you see? And they'd tell you some crazy story about something they seen down in the States, because you don't see it up here in Canada, and you're almost mystified by it, right? And now it's anybody you talk to in the trucking industry, they're like, I just want to go home. I've been driving too long. I just want to go home.
So is technology or... So there's two different things from back in the days, So one is technology and the other one is immigration.
Yeah.
So maybe I should separate the question. Is immigration giving trucking a bad name?
I think it's a byproduct of it. Not so much that it gives it a bad name, because I'm sure if you would have let trucking go by itself, it would have devolved in the same way, because it pushes it to be cheaper and cheaper and cheaper when you have to have more and more drivers. And then the trucking companies, if they need to have 100 drivers, they can't pay them as good as they would pay 50 drivers, right? So you end up getting lower wages. The immigration thing is, I think, it's easier for them to get a job, because once you're in, well, I can help you get a job. They'll also work for less most of the time. Like most people that are here, They're like, well, I'm not going to flip burgers. Someone that immigrated here will flip burgers. They'll take the job that you won't because they need the money. And most people here have already got a horrible sense of entitlement, right? Because if you're not willing to do it for that, somebody else is. And they're married together, right? You can't blame one or the other.
So the criticism that is actually flooded online is that immigrant truck drivers are bad drivers. How true is that? All of them?
Well, it's a game of numbers, right? So if there's more immigrant drivers driving trucks, you're going to get a narrow-minded view from the other side. It's like, how would you say it? If you look at any field and there's a disproportionate number of people in that field and say they're all driving terribly, you're going to blame the nationality sometimes. Like, you're going to come to that term where you're like, well, they're all doing it. Now, is that training? Is that nepotism that, I got my brother in, so now I'm going to get my cousin in? Basically, and then so the first bad driver trains the remaining 5 bad drivers. Like, is it kind of that? I don't know where it stems that way. Like, is it all of them? I've also seen some terrible white guys that should not be operating much more than a couch cushion. Like, horrible drivers. And you're like, dude, how'd you get your license? Like, there's a lot of it.
So you were saying bad drivers don't come in certain race.
No, I think there's a byproduct of training. So even say if I was to become a driver and then I went and got my Uncle Jim, can barely see through Coke bottles, and he teaches me to drive, and I come out the other end as a horrible driver because he taught me all of his bad habits. And there's a ton of that. Like, there's some people that, like, a couple of my buddies I wouldn't get in the car with. I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing driving? Where'd you learn to drive? You took the same test I did. I think it just happens.
So it starts in the truck driving school.
I think so. Like, if you were supposed to be trained to a standard, clearly that standard was not met by some of the maneuvers. Now, as people drive over time, we all get bad habits, granted. But if you're supposed to be kept to an extremely high standard to get the license, because it's not easy, how are we doing some of these? Or a good example is, like, I'll go somewhere and I'm like, oh, did you not see this on your pre-trip? And the guy just kind of looks at me like I got square eyes. And I'm like, pre-trip. And he's like, I'm on a trip. Like,
I don't know what pre-trip is.
I don't know what
but
a
I'm on a trip, yes.
Yeah, I'm on a trip. I'm going somewhere, yes. And you're like, dude, like, your wheels are falling off. Oh, yeah, no, I totally looked at it. And you're like, did you? Like, did they not train you to do a pre-trip? Is my question. Like, where is the standard for these things? And I think that's causing the byproduct. Because even if a whole bunch of people went through and they basically got pushed through schools, the 999 schools, and I have no idea how true that is. If they got pushed through schools, of course you're going to come out on the other end with bad drivers. It doesn't matter where you're from. If I go write a test and they essentially just hand me a ticket and go, you passed, and you're like, I didn't write anything. And you're like, well, here you go, have it. You're going to get bad drivers, right? If you shadow bad drivers, you're going to have bad drivers. There's a lot of factors to it.
Yeah. But my understanding is I think the trucking companies play a huge role in this too.
Well,
So, for example, I know stories where a driver would ring the bell and be like, you know what, this is loose or this is not safe. And they're like, yeah, it's just one trip, complete it, and then we'll fix it afterwards.
just get in the truck
Yeah.
and deliver my goods.
Yeah. So also, the safety meetings and safety trainings, or even just checking the equipment, let's say quarterly or something like this.
A lot of companies run, how would you say it? The ethics of safety, and they do not practice what they preach. The higher ups will have powwows about we need to cut down on problems, and then you go to that same company when something's going on and you're like, did you not see this? And they're like, yeah, I brought it up to my supervisor. And I'm like, well, how are you end up on the 401 with it? And he's like, well, he just told me to go. And I'm like, well, you can refuse it. And he's like, I want a job tomorrow. How are you supposed to run that fine line of, if I can't feed my family, you just get in the truck and drive, right? Like, the companies are the biggest problem. because it's massive top-down corporations that they keep the money up top and then they ask you to do some fairly questionable things. Like, I don't know how many times I'm going to keep picking on brick people or gravel trucks in general. Anything that's hauling really heavy. And you'll show up and they're like, oh yeah, like I've got a marker light out. You show up, there is air leaks everywhere. There's brake chambers that are blowing. I've showed up to entirely cracked brake like discs that are cracked off and just floating around in there. And they're like, can you fix my lights so I can go? And you're like, no. And they're like, well, my dispatch says I have to leave. And I'm like, get the guy to crawl into there. And you're like, this piece is supposed to be attached up there. Oh my God. And you're like, did you even look under here? And he's like, yeah, my lights were out. That was what I was worried about. And you're like, that's a really weird thing to be worried about, hauling 150,000 pounds of bricks, dude.
Were you able to stop a person like this?
Yeah, multiple times I've went and you're like, dude, you can't be driving around. They're like, well, just unplug the ABS light so I can drive. And you're like, that's not how it works, man. There's a problem. It's there for a reason. Well, my dispatcher says that I have to go or I'll have to go home and not get paid.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
So Dakota, you're proving my point. You're saying school is a small problem, but the companies and companies' culture is a much bigger problem.
Yeah, it's top down. It's both, right? Like the corporations, and then it'll also put you like some won't pay for school, some will pay for school, but some will pay for school, and you go specifically to the guy that'll hand you your license. Right? It's kind of a double-edged sword. A lot of the problems come with everything is such a fine margin that you run everything into the ground. Some companies are really good. Other companies are very questionable. But you'll end up getting, or you'll get a guy who owns 15 trucks. He's got a mom with the company. He's taking the big paycheck and then he's paying his drivers like $15 an hour to drive a straight truck around. And you're like, how's that fair for a guy to be out 14 hours of the day, slinging whatever he's hauling, running with pump trucks and doing all kinds of stuff. And then the guy, he's taking home most of it and he's given his drivers peanuts. His truck is in absolute shambles because he wants to drive a Mercedes Benz. So he keeps all the big money and then just trickles the peanuts out. Like there's so many factors to it. It's because there's a large potential to make money only if you don't take care of your equipment, maybe not pay your taxes, right? Like you'll see a guy that's wearing a bunch of flashy stuff, his trucks will be beat. The guy that's doing moderately well, all of his trucks are in really good condition. His drivers are happier. They're paid more. He eventually makes more money because it's long term. A lot of the little guys get phased out that way because they'll end up running a truck into the ground. Trucks aren't cheap. Then you've got to buy another truck. And then you just in this, you're bleeding money essentially.
So Dakota, you've probably been into thousands of trucks.
They all smell different.
Yeah, they all smell different. What's the worst? So what kind of smell is this?
I'm in sleeper cabs are the one that get real questionable. Like puppy pads in a truck. You get in and there's dog turds everywhere, and you're like, well, not today. Not today, friend. Yeah. Yep. A couple of puppies running around. And there's a lot of truck drivers that do bring their dogs, and they're fine, totally fine. Trucks are clean. Some of them you get into it, and there's dog turds everywhere, and you're like, well, it looks like I'm not fixing this. And they're like, well, why wouldn't you fix it? And you're like, detail your truck, dude. Like, that's unsanitary for me to be in there. If you want to ride around like that, that's by all means, whatever you want. But I'm not touching it.
What's the worst one you remember?
Probably that one. And then the other one was basically just full hoarder style. Like little pocket, and couldn't even tell you the smell. Hot garbage dumpster. Like, cause it's just packed up to the window, packed up all around them. And you got to get in and you're like, oh God, I don't have to. And you're like, just hit the brake button and you're like using your foot just to get in. It's people that are left alone by themselves for a long period of time driving that don't have to interact with people can sometimes turn out a bit.
Is that again a company thing, I think? So why can't companies, for example, if
a lot of those are owner ops?
But still, like companies can set some standards, right? No?
Some of them, yeah. Some of them you don't have to. Some of them, if you're only hooking onto the trailer as long as you're safe. Like That guy might be the best driver in the world. He just happens to be a bit of a slob. Like there's companies will do it. And then a lot of times, like because sleeper cabs are essentially like a dude's home, you've kind of got this, you don't want to mess with it because that guy lives in there most of the week. Right. So it's almost sacred. Take your shoes off. The other one you did. Leave them on. Put more coveralls on. You kind of got to find balance, right? Like you can't tell the guy like, hey man, you got to clean up all this stuff. If it gets to a point where it's unsafe, like stuff's going to come out the back and hit you when you hit the brakes. Sure. But at the same time, like technically behind that curtain, that's a dude's house. And you just shut the curtain and pretend like it's not there.
So, okay, so I'm about to say something and tell me if it's right. Are trucks extremely clean in the Brampton area or no?
It is a wide swath of value. Like some are extremely clean, and a lot of it has to do with different industries. So like some delivery drivers that like slip seat. So like a day driver and a night driver, 90% of the time they're pretty clean because one guy, the night guy, if he gets left a mess, he leaves a mess for the next guy and then they have it out and it normally sorts itself out. But some of the sleepers, they're pretty questionable. Pretty questionable. It's all over the place. Like you look at my truck versus someone else's truck. Like my truck might have a couple of coffee cups in the side versus another dude's truck might be up to the window. It's all human nature, right? I don't think it's specific. There's definitely a more spicy smell, but that's all food. That's all.
But that's a good smell though, right?
Yeah, that's all just food, right? So you get in and you're like, oh, what the hell's that? Most of the time. And then like anything, you ever got in it like an old dude's truck and you're just like, smells like leather and desperation. And you're like, you need to wash the seats, man. And he's like, I don't smell anything. I'm like, yeah, but that's because you've been in it for 14 hours, just musting.
It's true.
Right?
Yeah.
It happens like even, you just don't notice it most of the time. Like, because you're in it all the time. And if you're sitting there sweating in a seat all the time, it's going to pick up some tang.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I
Right?
agree on that, yeah. Dakota, so what's the plan now? So you plan to do this for a long time?
Probably try and put some trucks on the road. Like I'm probably gonna stay in the industry most likely. We'll try and put some guys on the road, get an apprentice, put more trucks on, and then essentially do whatever your businessman dream is. I'll retire off the tools. We'll all get rich. Probably won't happen. No, just basically probably move up more into managing the company instead of being on the road. Maybe try and get a shop. Be the next thing.
So you do want to stop doing the mobile work?
Yeah, eventually it just too much. Way too much. Like you beat your hands up, you beat your body up. A mobile is always going to be a necessary evil to do it, right? Because everybody needs their stuff fixed. Everybody breaks down, can't move. But try and get some young guys under it, give them the opportunity to make the big dollars. You know what I mean? And then essentially probably get a shop and probably try and branch out a little bit.
Dakota, I want to thank you for what you do and thank you for being on the show. It's been a pleasure talking to you and having you in the show.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure.